Hello and welcome back to another video. This is American English with this guy. I'm this guy. My name is Brent. I've been an English teacher in the United States for 20 years. The goal of this channel is to help you improve your English. The goal of today's video is to teach you how Americans celebrate Columbus Day, sometimes known as Indigenous Peoples Day. A couple days ago, I asked on the channel if people knew what Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day was. And a lot of people said, no, you should make a video on it. So since Ethan and Angelo and Nori and Ibrahim all asked if I could make a video, I figured, let's do it. One of the things I love so much about having this channel is that I get to meet a lot of different people from around the world. And until this weekend, when I started talking about Columbus Day in the United States, I didn't realize that so many countries in North and South America celebrate holidays during this weekend also. For example, Amina in Canada, got to give her a huge shout out. Thank you so much for the super chats you have left me during my live streams. They are celebrating Canadian Thanksgiving right now. I'll talk about American Thanksgiving in another video, but we will celebrate that in about 6 weeks. Reddy in Mexico told me they celebrate a weekend very similar to Columbus Day in Mexico. And I learned from Rod and Daniel in Brazil, they also celebrate something this weekend. It's a little different and more religious, but they're also celebrating a 3-day weekend or a long weekend. We use that term long weekend or 3-day weekend in the United States when we definitely have our weekend, the Saturday and the Sunday. Most people get those days off from work, definitely school, but then you get an extra day. 3-day weekend or long weekend will often involve Monday being off from work or school. I'd also like to point out that I am in Portland, Maine right now, walking through the park that's kind of in the middle of the city. That park is called Deering Oaks, a lot like Central Park is to New York City. As you can see, there are some Canadian geese in this park waiting until they take off down south for the winter, and there are a few people in the park that like to feed them. They're beautiful birds to look at. Unfortunately, I don't like what they leave behind. Like so many holidays we have in the United States where we get a day off, it's not like we celebrate anything. We don't throw parties. We don't sing songs like we might at Christmas. It's just basically a day off from work. And we might remember Christopher Columbus, or we might have remembered him 10 years ago or before. But what I'm going to talk about now is a little controversial. So that means that not everybody can agree what to call this holiday now. Is it Columbus Day or is it Indigenous Peoples Day? And we usually celebrate this holiday right around the 12th of October, whichever Monday is closest actually. When I was a kid, when my parents were kids, when my grandparents were kids, we called this weekend Columbus Day weekend. And we remembered Christopher Columbus for sailing the ocean blue in 1492 and discovering America. In school, we were taught that little rhyme. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, just so we could remember the year that, again, America, we call those things air quotes, were discovered. We learned that he came from Spain. I think he might have been originally Italian, but the king and queen of Spain paid him to basically bring his 3 ships and search for, I think he was searching for India, actually, a quicker way to get spices from India and bring them back to Spain. And he ended up accidentally discovering America. But where the Indigenous Peoples Day comes from is that basically now we know that there were people already living here before Columbus came. And in fact, based on some diaries of people that were on the ship with Columbus, he and his men did some pretty horrible things to the people who were indigenous to that part of the world. And maybe we should talk about that word indigenous a little bit. Indigenous people. We use that term to recognize that there were people living in North America and South America before European explorers came here. When I was a kid, we just thought, oh, if it hadn't been for Columbus, we may have never had this world we call the United States, which is why we celebrate him. We now know that there were some pretty horrible things done to the indigenous people living here so that we could have the type of country we have today. Across the street from the park is a school, and at that school, they have decorated a lighthouse with pictures the kids at that school have drawn. All around the city of Portland, Maine, there are lighthouses, and this is just one of about 12. So that is why within the last 10 years or so, many Americans are saying we shouldn't celebrate Columbus and what he did to the people who were living here. Instead, we should celebrate those people who were once living here and basically were killed, or their land at least was stolen from them by people like Christopher Columbus. So I hope you can see that this is pretty controversial. Not every American agrees what we should call this 3-day weekend, this long holiday. Just in case there are any people who study British English, maybe I should talk about the difference between holiday and vacation in the United States. Holiday for us in the United States is something like Christmas or Easter or Halloween. Halloween is coming up. I may do a video on that. It's a celebration, maybe lasts one day. Thanksgiving is definitely a holiday. In Great Britain, they say holiday when we say vacation. In the United States, a vacation is when you take a longer period of time, often with your family or friends or loved ones, to a different destination, a different place. You may take an airplane or a train or a long car ride for your vacation. I can't speak for all Americans, but I would have to think that most Americans are probably happy and proud of this country, the United States, but it's difficult not to remember that it did cost the lives of many of the indigenous people who were living here before European explorers came. Some states still recognize this as Christopher Columbus Day or simply Columbus Day, but other states like California are moving to calling this holiday Indigenous Peoples Day. I would love to hear your thoughts on this very controversial, complicated holiday. Please leave a comment if you feel like it. If you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel, and I got a couple English learning videos for you if you're not done with your English learning today. Right up there is an English lesson I did when I made borscht, and I tried borscht for the first time. And below that is a video that members of this community sent me to introduce themselves. Some pretty awesome people there. Check that video out. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.